Hi everyone, I'm back. I'm Claire Bouvier, the founder of Feist, Female Entrepreneurs in Small Towns. Today we're going to talk about creating your energy calendar. For our whole lives, everything is based around the Monday to Friday, the weekend being Saturday and Sunday, and during the week, Monday to Friday, we're working, and then on the weekend, everyone's like, oh, TGIF, right? After years of working both in corporate spaces or in government spaces or private sector or public sector, one thing I've really noticed, as women specifically, we need to be really pay attention to our energy calendar and how we're putting out our energy and where we're spending our energy, because that's when we crash and burn way quicker when we're not aware of it. For example, the most important one is that I've learned years ago that I had to create my schedule, schedule things appropriately around my period. And that's something that, for some of us, it's not a problem. And for some of us, it is a problem. It's a real problem. And so I'm speaking to the ones that feel like your period comes and it's like, you're pretty much saying toodaloo to the world and you're kind of just barely getting by. And not only that, I find my period being really, really bad, but also it's the luteal phase. It's just that 10 days before or 5 days before, and you're kind of thinking, you're counting, okay, if your cycle's 21 days or 26 days, you're like, that's not leaving you much room. I've been in situations that I've had to cancel things because I'm like, I can't do it and I wasn't strategic. So the number one thing is to be really careful. Make sure you're tracking where your cycle is, where you are in your month. Notice your moods. I know there's tons of apps out there. I've always used Flow. I've kept that going for years. There's a lot of different apps that you can use to track, and it gives you reminders. And so when someone wants to do something that's really high energy, they want me to do a photo shoot, or I have to be filming something, or maybe I'm presenting a workshop, I really look at my calendar and I'll say, I always book the week after my period. And that's really important because that's where my highest amount of energy is. That's when I feel the best. And so if you can work around that schedule, be really, really cognizant, but where you can actually be using the energy appropriate for that time of the month. So, during the month when I'm feeling like, I'm like, okay, this is going to be really administrative heavily, or maybe I'm going to do some monotonous work where it's a lot of, focusing on one task that's not draining too much of my creative juices or trying to force me to doing something that doesn't feel really authentic. So it's really important to listen to that. Well, right now it's a little different. There's like the real thing is Zoom fatigue. So maybe you're presenting, maybe you're doing an event. I know pre-COVID, a big thing was after an event, if I was putting on an event or speaking or something, I always put an X in my calendar for the following day. I just didn't book anything really, anything too intensive because I need that day to kind of just come off the high, refocus. I find when I'm getting ready for an event or doing something, my whole house gets disastrous. I'm finding an outfit. I decide to, tear up my whole house getting ready for something, and then I need that day to kind of get reorganized, set myself up again for the week. So it's really important to put X's in your calendar, to sync your period tracker, whatever it is, your cycle with your work calendar, your personal calendar, and just be really cognizant of the energy levels that are changing throughout the month. The other thing that's really important is not only looking at just the week and the month in itself, but actually breaking down the day. For a lot of years, I felt that I was an afternoon person and I didn't want to do anything in the morning. But I've learned by changing my schedule, I actually my brain's really clear. I'm really focused in the morning, and with my ADHD, I find that it's really hard to stay focused. The hardest tasks are anything administrative. that's something that's really tiring, but something that's like really creative and requires a lot of thinking and stuff, but it comes so much more naturally and it's much more exciting. I find I leave those things the afternoon. So any meetings that I'm doing, creative problem solving or shooting stuff or anything creative, I leave that for the afternoon and I block out the mornings to do all the heavy lifting that's for my brain of organizational things, administrative things, or planning things. I put that into the morning when my mind's clear and it's focused, and then it sets a tone for the day. Whether it's blocking off, for me, Mondays are very administrative heavy just to get the week organized. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm like super locked in doing a lot of the intense work, and then Friday I leave more for client meetings and things that are lighter and just kind of wrapping up the week, and then the weekends are dedicated to creative projects or just kind of getting ahead of the week if I feel like it, or socializing, whatever it is. But the most important thing is that, especially if you're wired in this way, I know that when I do something, I'm kind of like so proud of myself. I got through a wicked day and I come down off of it and then I'm like, okay, where's the reward? I'm looking for a reward. And it's really important to block into your energy calendar spaces for reward. So if you know you're gonna be doing something pretty intensive for 2 days or whatever, make sure you block in your calendar to celebrate in some capacity. Whether it's like, hey, booking to go for dinner with a girlfriend, or it's simply just like going shopping and you're gonna go, like, I love thrift shopping when I'm in the mood, or perhaps it's just like doing something that you typically wouldn't do that just disrupts your week and it is some sort of novelty. And I think more than ever, we need that right now, because all day a lot of us sit on Zoom calls, doing meetings, everything's virtual. We forget that, like, before maybe you walked to work, maybe you drove to work, maybe you did a combination of carpooling, and like that moment of like rewards after is like walking, it kind of gives you that little bit of adrenaline boost if you're working out, you're biking home or something. I know a lot of people, they've lost that part of their schedule. So it's so important to block out those times by your energy throughout the month. So really important to pay attention to the energies that you go through in the month and block out the times when you need to rest, because really at the end of the day, it's about sustainability. And I wish I told myself this 10 years ago to be like, hey, when you're creating your calendar for the month, think about when you're gonna get your period and when you're most affected. Think about the heavy lifting days where you're putting a lot in and that you cut out reward time. So you actually block out time that's really dedicated to socializing and not putting any pressure. There's no set time limit. Also making sure that you're really aware of when you're creative, when you're in administrative or the organization mode, especially if you're like me and that's something doesn't really come naturally. You really have to make that a focus. And then creating those energies, when to put in your exercise, when you're gonna be cooking to, get proper food. And that's a whole nother episode. But the thing is that I really want to emphasize today is the importance of creating an energy calendar that syncs up with your personal and your business life so that you are optimizing your energies with the work that you're doing and giving yourself that flexibility, because what's going to come on the other side, you will be able to spread your awesome even more. It'll be sustainable. You won't be crashing as much, and you'll find a rhythm that really works. Thanks for listening, and I will see you soon. And don't forget, keep spreading. You're awesome. You're awesome, awesome, awesome. Bye.